be sometime by the end of the next decade, where there will be nothing left but that. And then we still got a problem, and that's when the 85 and older population really begins to explode. So we better start thinking about what we're going to do. That doesn't mean throwing old people out of the nursing home. That means we need to find out how we're going to pay for this and how we're going to do this thing to provide quality services to people, but at a much lower price. The only way to do that is through increasing productivity. The only way to do that. And disruptive events are going to become much more frequent. One of the big ones, I think, is going to be that water thing. By the end of this decade, water is going to be a huge disruptor. It's going to affect how businesses operate, what kind of businesses we allow, where we allow growth, what do we do with things, whether or not Arizona can even continue to exist, whether Nevada can continue to exist, whether most of Texas can continue to exist, whether Georgia can continue to exist, whether Southern California can continue to exist, will depend on how they answer some of these questions. And here's the wonderful thing is all this stuff opens up great levels of opportunities, but we need to do these things wisely. Look for the opportunities and do them wisely. You've heard that when the campaigns go in, and you'll hear that again this year when the campaigns, you'll hear legislators and their opponents, etc., talk about there are only two options. You either cut government services or increase taxes. No, actually, there's a third option. That's to do things better. It's to actually improve what we're doing at a lower cost, and that is through productivity. Now, let me just finish up with this and point out that when I talk about productivity, I'm not just talking about bigger, faster machines that put people out of work. Which, yeah, that's always part of it. It's always been part of it. But, I mean, we used to have everybody either, you rowed your boat or poled your boat. We didn't have power boats once upon a time. And on some really big lakes, that was sort of a problem. You couldn't even get out on some big lakes because it was really hard to paddle in a small canoe on a really big lake when it was windy. And now you've got a 50 horsepower engine, and you zoom right across the lake. Does anybody want to go back to those days where you have no other choice? Okay. Okay, so that sort of happened, but then there are also other aspects of productivity. One is about quality, making things better. Making things better. Having the highest quality of water quality experience, wilderness experiences are, I think, absolutely essential. Making sure that our children graduate from high school, and that when they do, they're actually prepared to go on to higher education, rather than having to spend a year or two in remedial classes to get them up to where they should have been in 10th grade. Think about it. You've got 30-something years, maybe 40 years in your work life, and you lose one of those. You already lost 2.5–3% of your entire work-life productivity. That's a good year's increase in productivity. Right there. We just solved a whole year's worth of productivity problem. Right there. Let's just get the kids graduating from high school up to the standard they should be. And then making better things. Innovation. Finding new ways of doing things that... I think one of the big ones this decade is we're going to find a cure for Alzheimer's. And when that happens, we are going to have to rewrite all of the cost functions. We're going to have to recalculate all of our cost forecasts when we do that. And it could very well happen in Minnesota. And if we do that here in Minnesota, we need to figure out a way to charge the rest of the world. Basically, we are in a fiscal catch-22. That right now, if we don't make the necessary public investments in human capital, that's education, training, things like that, research, and in infrastructure, roads, bridges, things like that, water quality, then we won't have the productivity gains necessary to make those investments in the future and pay for the promises that we've made. So we need to be very wise about how we go forward into this, and it's going to be a really interesting world, which leads me to a quote from a famous Canadian philosopher who also played a little bit of hockey. Wayne Gretzky was one time asked, well, Wayne, how is it that you can score so many goals? And he said, well, I skate to where the puck will be, not to where it has been. And he said, well, that's just a typical dumb jock, okay? No, actually this is a pretty brilliant statement. Break it down. No, first he knows where the puck's going to be. When he closes his eyes, he can see where the puck's going to be. That's brilliant. He knows where it's going. And guess what? We know where the puck's going to be in 10 years. We knew where the puck was going to be 20 years ago. 20 years ago, early in the Carlson administration, we forecasted what would happen, when it would happen, why it would happen, how much it would happen, what it would cost us, and it all happened in 2008. We knew exactly what was going to happen. Did we prepare for it? No. Because that was always way off in the long run. We had more immediate short-run issues to resolve. Now the long run has become a short-run issue. Now we must solve this. How do we know where the puck will be in 10 years? Most of us age somewhere in the neighborhood of 1 year every 12 months. We have a pretty darn good idea where the puck's going to be in 10 years. We've known where the puck was going to be for a very long time. And that just leaves the second part of the statement, is that he doesn't just stand there looking at it, thinking about it. He moves to that point. He acts. He moves to that point, and he's there when the puck arrives, and he puts his stick on the puck and he scores the goal. And if we do that, Minnesota will continue to be one of the most beautiful, cleanest, most prosperous, highest income economies of the world. And if we don't, we won't. It'll be that simple. This is an exciting time. It's an exciting decade.